name is Hannah, and I am a certified trauma-informed yoga teacher. And in this class, I invite you to take 15 minutes with me for a gentle morning wake up. You can come onto your mat or any space that you have prepared for this practice. And here in this session, it might be beneficial to have 1 or 2 blankets or towels, as well as maybe 1 or 2 blocks. However, you'll be just fine if you don't have them. So I invite you to begin this session in a child's shape. And option 2, take your knees a little bit wider. And if it's helpful, you can even come onto your hands and your knees and maybe allow your knees to separate out a little bit further than hip distance. And you might even explore allowing your toes to touch back behind you. You could begin to send the hips back toward the heels. And option 1 here is to walk your hands forward far enough so that your forehead can come to the mat. However, if having your gaze down does not feel safe or welcome to you in this moment, you might simply stack your fists on top of one another, perhaps resting your chin on top of your hands so that your gaze can stay lifted. So you decide what feels most welcome to you. And here, as we are beginning the day, I welcome to create an intention for your day, for this practice, but also one that can carry you through the remainder of your day. So if there's something that is on your heart that you'd like to keep in your mind, keep in your heart for the rest of the day, you could find that now. Affirmations are great with I am statements, and so you might start with I am, and then insert your intention there. Once you have this intention or affirmation, you might take a breath into it, giving it an opportunity to settle down a little bit deeper into your body. And as we're here in this child shape, taking a moment to feel the mat beneath your fingertips or beneath your arms. Perhaps even noticing the texture of what's beneath you. And you might choose to stay here longer, or if you're ready for the next shape, you might begin to inhale and lift the head up to look at the hands. And if your hands are not outstretched, you might begin to walk them forward. And we'll start by choosing one side. I'm going to move to the left side first, but we'll begin to leave the bottom half of the body as is and simply walk the hands over toward the left. They might even leave your mat. And then as you settle into this side stretch, you might check in with your body and notice, did I go too far? Does my body want to go farther? You control how much of a stretch you feel in this shape. So if this stretch, the sensation feels very big or overwhelming, you can walk your hands a little bit closer to center and notice if that makes a difference. So I invite you to be here for the next 4 rounds of breath. So 4 inhales and 4 exhales. Two more breaths here. You might choose to stay here longer, or if you're ready, you could lift the head to look at the hands and begin walking your hands back to center. Taking a pause here in the middle, just for 1 or 2 breaths to simply notice, are there any sensation changes or differences between the right side of your body and the left side of your body? And if you're ready for the next side, you could lift your head, look at your hands again, and begin walking your hands over to the opposite side. And remember here, you have total choice and autonomy to choose how far you go into the stretch, if you go into the stretch at all, because you always have the right to say no or to change your mind. So wherever you are, whether it's in this shape with me or in a different shape, I welcome you to take another 3 to 4 rounds of breath here. And after your last round of breath, or when you feel complete, you might begin to lift your head and walk your hands back to center. If you're ready, you could shift forward into a tabletop shape, perhaps adjusting your stance or where your knees fall if needed, maybe allowing them to find their way underneath your hips. And here, I welcome you to find some organic movement. So option 1 is to move organically, perhaps stretching through your side body, maybe even taking a big circle in one direction and then the other. Or if you prefer to find a different rhythm, you might explore cat-cow here by coming into tabletop, and with your inhale, you could allow your abdomen, your spine, to soften down toward the floor. Maybe you even roll the shoulders back a little bit, perhaps taking the gaze forward. And with your exhale, you might begin to draw the spine up toward the ceiling, perhaps noticing a little bit of core engagement here, not much, just a little, just enough to create the movement. And an inhale to reverse your movement. So 2 options. You can find a rhythm in cat-cow, maybe working with your breath, or you can take the next 3 rounds of breath to just move in any way that feels fluid to you. There's no right or wrong here. What feels best to your body? What feels welcome? Last round of breath, beginning to find completion. And whenever you do feel complete, you can meet me back here at center, but take your time. Okay, with your next inhale, you might decide to extend your right leg back, perhaps keeping the right toes on the floor. And option here to find a little bit of a rock, maybe rocking back and pressing through the heel, noticing what kind of sensation you might feel in your right leg when you do that, compared to when you rock forward, allowing your toes maybe a little bit of a stretch. And you might stay right here, or option to have your blocks close by if you have them. And with your next inhale, you might begin to draw your right knee up and forward, planting your right foot, perhaps on the outside of your right hand, as we find a low lunge here. This is where your blocks can come in handy. And blocks are great because they are just an extension of your own body. So they can bring the floor to you, or they can lengthen your arms so that the floor is closer. And if you don't have blocks, that's okay. You can just bring your hands to the earth. Option one is to hang out right here. Noticing the slow lunge, this sensation that might be happening in your left hip flexors, or perhaps somewhere else in your body. Or if you'd like, you could keep your left hand planted either on your block or on the floor. And with your breath, we'll begin to find a gentle twisting movement. So we'll breathe in here at center. And with your right hand, as you exhale, you could decide to peel back your right shoulder, kind of like you're pulling back a bow, and reach the right fingertips up towards the sky. Good. Inhale, round the right arm back until you're back at center, and then exhale. You could pull the right hand back again. Option to join me for 3 more of those, setting your own pace. Breathing in and out. And you can take or leave any shape that doesn't feel welcome to you. And as we take our last one, you can release the right hand down to the mat or to your blocks. And when you're ready, you could press back on your hips and send your right foot back. Great. And then we'll explore that on the other side if you'd like to join me. So from our tabletop, you could extend your left leg, perhaps keeping the left toes on the mat. And if you want to, you can return to this rocking motion. And as you press back through the left heel, you might notice the back of your your left leg. And with your next inhale, you can decide to stay right here, or you might decide to draw your left knee forward and plant your left foot on the mat, maybe on the outside of your left hand. Option to utilize your blocks here, or plant your hands on the floor. So you could take a pause right here for just a few moments and observe, how does this side feel different than my previous side? And different is not bad, it's simply different. There is no right or wrong. And if you'd like to join me for a little bit of a twist, you could plant your right hand, and with your left hand, inhale and draw. Peel the left shoulder back, reaching the left arm up overhead. Option to stay here, or maybe you make a big circle. Bring your left hand back to center and repeat the motion. You set the pace here. Option to take 3 more. Observing this range of motion here. Last one. And if you feel satisfied and complete, you could bring your left hand back down to the earth. Send the hips back a little bit. And draw the left knee back down to the mat. Option 2, find a seated shape. maybe even sitting on a blanket or a bolster. And just take the next 60 seconds to simply notice how you feel. Observing your heart rate. Perhaps noticing the temperature of your body. And finally, you might shift your focus to your breath. Simply observing your inhales and exhales move in and out at their natural pace. You might bring the intention or the I am affirmation that you created for yourself to mind. Perhaps taking a breath into it. And carrying it through the rest of your day with you. If you'd like, you could bring your hands together at heart center. And I welcome you to join me for one collective breath. And we'll start with an exhale out. And we'll breathe in together. Thank you for joining me. I hope that you feel safe, connected, and at home in your body.